I blame Nick entirely. That's fair.
And once again, in the land of speaking too loudly about things that are supposed to be a secret, Tao is like, I blame Nick entirely for the hickey that Charlie has. The hickey that Charlie has that Nick gave him. James is right there. Like, he's right there. We are back with another episode of Heartstopper. So last time we looked at episode 4, where we had the gang going off to Paris. Every time I gesture, you're going to get like this bright, this flash of sunlight. Should I gesture with my left? That doesn't feel right. Okay, so flash of sunlight it is. Anyway, last time we had the gang going to Paris. We had Tao and Elle kind of reconciling and deciding to be friends, and we had Nick and Charlie having a moment alone and using it to, give Charlie a hickey unintentionally. An unintentional hickey was given. So we are moving into episode 5, Heat, which of course has some stuff happens, some stuff and things go down, so we'll be talking about that. Alright, so let's get started. I'm putting in my earbuds. Thank God I tell you every time, or you would have no idea what I was doing. Alright, let's watch. Who would you be if there was nobody watching? So there are so many Baby Queen songs in this season, and I love it because every single song of hers that I've heard, I've really enjoyed, and this is another one. There's just banger after banger after banger. Do you even know the people that you're trying to impress? So it is the next morning yet again, and the last time we saw the crew, Tao was asleep face down on his pillow, which he appears to still be, and Isaac was asleep under his book, which he still appears to be, and Nick had just woken up to discover that Charlie was not in bed, so now Nick is on his phone. So we have a text thread between Nick and his dad, which is actually iMessage instead of Instagram. Wow. The only strange thing about this is that Nick has said that he and his dad communicate to one another mostly in French, and in the comics, of course, their text messages are also in French, but it would be a little bit tricky to show the text messages and also translate them for the viewers who do not speak French. So I understand why they did this. Like, it would have been just too much of a headache. I think we can suspend disbelief and say, because we know that he speaks English. So I think we can say, like, okay, usually they speak French to each other, but in this case, texting, they're speaking in English, and it's fine. We're just moving on. Yeah, so Nick, once again asking his dad about meeting up, and the dad is like, oh yeah, definitely, I'll check my calendar. And then Nick says, hey dad, when do you want to meet up this week? Yesterday he said this. No reply. And hey dad, I'm only here for 2 more days, so let me know when you're free. Read yesterday. Left his son on red. Not cool, dad. Not cool, papa. Ne cool pa. Papa. I'm so sorry. Nobody really cares. Yeah, in this song, I haven't heard the whole song, just what appears in the show, but like, oh, I forgot to turn the subtitles on. Oh my god. Okay, turn those on. Turn on that closed captioning. It's about like being scared to show your own identity, and then nobody really cares. So kind of the idea is that, you know what, just be yourself, because chances are it's going to be fine. Okay. So we do get to see his whole text thread with his dad. So we have you have a good day, and dad says thank you. And then Nick says, on Saturday, June 25th, he says, I'm coming to Paris next week. I'd love to see you if you're around. And then a few days later, hi dad, I'm coming to Paris tomorrow. Are you around? And then that's when Stefan is like, oh yeah, definitely. I'll check my calendar. Yeah, I'll check my calendar. The check is in the mail. I think we know what these things mean. Really cares. So we have a message from Charlie saying, come in the bathroom right now.
Oh my god. Do you think anyone will notice?
I think everyone will notice.
I can't recall there ever being like hickey drama in my high school. Though it could just have been that the people I was hanging out with were not like doing anything that could get them hickeys. So in the popular crowd, there might have been something, but I never heard anything like this going on. But it absolutely tracks. Usually reactors skew one of two ways. Either they're like, oh no, oh that's horrible. Everyone is going to be talking about this. Everyone is going to want to know about this. And the other side is, what's the big deal? It's just a hickey. So like, yeah. So I tend to be more on the side of like, yeah, everyone is going to be talking about this. Not only because someone who seems to not be in a relationship with anyone has received an indication that they've been doing things with someone, but it's the out gay kid. So like, it's, oh god, yeah, like everyone will notice and everyone will talk about it, and of course that is what happens here.
But no one will notice you.
Even in this moment where Charlie is facing the fact that like people are definitely going to be on his case about this, he's definitely going to be the focus of people's attention in a negative way, which he hates. He's still like reassuring Nick, like, you know, don't worry, no one's going to think it was you. So that's good, right? But Nick is just concerned for Charlie, obviously.
I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to do that, to be honest.
It's fine. I really enjoyed it.
And I do like that Charlie reassures Nick here, being like, no, I mean, like, it was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Because yeah, like as we've been doing a lot of discussing things in the comments, which is lovely. I enjoyed the discussing. And one of the things we were talking about was the kind of the history of shame around, you know, being gay and gay sexuality and things like that. And so it's good here that Charlie is not allowing Nick to have any sort of shame associated with the hickey, because like he's not glad that everybody's going to see it, but he's very pleased about what brought it about.
What are you two doing in there?
Now, I think it's rather bold of Tao to there's a couple, okay, a couple who, granted, maybe Tao doesn't know how much they can't keep their hands off each other, but a romantically involved couple, it has sequestered themselves in the bathroom with the door closed. And he knocks on the door and asks, what are you two doing in there? And opens it immediately. Like, if they had been doing something, there would have been no time for them to stop doing it before he opened that door. So, a bold move from Mr. Tao Su.
How did you get that bruise on your neck? Oh my god.
Now, of course, in the comics, Tao doesn't know that Nick and Charlie are together yet. So when he asks Charlie how he got that bruise on his neck, Charlie says, I fell in the shower or something like that. And Tao just buys it. He's like, okay. But here, of course, we get to see what happens when Tao knows about Nick and Charlie. And I do think this is a very in-character reaction for him, where immediately he's like, you, to Nick.
You! I cannot believe it! The actual...
Which is a shame, because just the night before, Tao and Nick had such a breakthrough. They had such a nice conversation. Tao finally seemed to see the light that, you know, Nick is great and a very good guy. And then here he is the very next day having to go all, like, angry father mode on him.
You will be having words.
Tao giving him the old, like, homicide eyes. And he just slowly closes the door. Oh, Tao. Oh, Tao.
Help me!
It is nice to see Tao go from, like, intent on murdering Nick to just being, like, an absolute mess because Elle has seen him shirtless. So we're at breakfast the next day. I'm glad Imogen is there with them. Ugh. People being assholes, saying, check that out, look at his hickey, that's so gross. You're gross. You're gross.
I blame Nick entirely. That's fair.
And once again, in the land of speaking too loudly about things that are supposed to be a secret, Tao is like, I blame Nick entirely for the hickey that Charlie has. The hickey that Charlie has that Nick gave him. But, you know, and James is right there. Like, he's right there.
It wasn't just his fault. I was also involved.
No need for the gory details.
Oh, and Tao's shirt has butterflies on it. I probably should have noticed that before, but I'm only noticing it now. So, yes. But yeah, Tao's shirt has butterflies on, and of course, butterflies are kind of the symbol of his and Elle's love, which makes it extra nice that he would be wearing them in this episode, given what happens between them.
Who gave you that hickey?
Now, this it has rightfully been pointed out that, like, Harry could not have seen the hickey from where he is now, but I'm gonna assume that, like, similar to the other people who were walking by, he started out, like, on the other side of the table, crossing behind Imogen, saw the hickey, but, like, why would he wait until he walked all the way around to comment on it? I don't know. He should not be able to see it from that angle, but it's fine. I mean, it could even be that, like, somebody told him that Charlie has a hickey. See, I'm just trying to explain how it could be possible. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Well, that's not ideal.
Ben, suddenly very interested. Isaac, well, that's not ideal. I really like Charlie's jumper.
Not hungry.
Not really.
And again, we have Nick really being the only one in the friend group who notices that Charlie just doesn't eat. And it does make sense because as his boyfriend, Nick, of course, is going to be, as someone who is fully obsessed with Mr. Charlie Spring, of course he's going to notice things like Charlie not eating. But, you know, today especially, he's noticing it.
I'll pack you a croissant, so if you get hungry later, we'll have a snack.
You're the best.
He is the best.
Something to be proud about, isn't it? Getting some action.
Harry. And it's so interesting that Harry is so obsessed with everyone's love lives and is always, like, ragging the guys in his group for not having girlfriends. And, like, when have we ever seen Harry have a romantic interest of his own? Like, we never see him with anyone. Unless maybe she goes to another school. I don't know.
Is it true James McEwen gave you that hickey?
So, of course, everyone is latching onto the only other out gay guy, James, and saying that, oh, it must have been him.
Did you see that guy down in reception, like dark hair? I think he gave Charlie his nose.
Did you see that guy down in reception with dark hair? Maybe he gave Charlie his hickey. Yes. Yeah. Random dark-haired gentleman in the lobby going around giving high schoolers hickeys. That's a thing that happens in French hotels.
It wasn't me. Obviously, you know it wasn't me.
Oh, no. Yeah, when James is like, it wasn't me. Yeah, Charlie definitely knows it wasn't you. Here comes Ben yet again staring at Charlie. Imogen observing as Ben sits down right behind Charlie and proceeds to stare at him, but thankfully Charlie is too occupied to notice. Adding Ben to the whole mix would just have been like another layer of badness on top of everything he's already dealing with. And at least Nick... Are they? No, they're not. They're still not sitting together. Oh my god. Oh, Nick looking very conflicted. And, like, I'm sure that it's crossing Nick's mind at this point. Like, if I just came out, Charlie would not be dealing with this. Like, I'm sure that he feels... Because we know up until now, he's felt really guilty the whole time that he was not ready to come out. Even as far back as episode 4 of season 1, we know he felt guilty about not being ready to tell people, about his sexuality and about who he's dating. But in this situation, especially where he's actively seeing Charlie suffering because of the fact that, he is not ready to come out. But at the same time, I think that if Nick had used this as the reason... Oh my gosh. There's a bright sun in my face. So if I were Nick, I think I would probably be really tempted to come out just to take the heat off of Charlie a bit here. But I also don't think that that would help here very much. Like, I think that might actually be detrimental to Charlie's mental state. Because the biggest thing that Charlie has been worried about this whole time is Nick suffering because of coming out. And the fact that everyone is so focused on this situation right now and is so ready to... They're not exactly bullying Charlie, but they're not bullying him about this. And, like, if Nick were to say that it was him at this point, he would fully be receiving exactly that attention as well. So, like, I think that from a logical, rational point of view, first of all, it's better that Nick doesn't come out before he's ready for something like this. But But second of all, I don't think it would help even if he did. So, and I mean, it's up to you personally what you would do in this situation. I think I would probably say something just because it would be really difficult for me to see Charlie suffering like this. But I also might consider the fact of how it would affect Charlie if I did say something. So, I don't know. It's kind of a complicated situation, but it's really clear that Nick is feeling very conflicted about it right now. Oh, the bus is yellow and blue. I didn't notice that before. And here we are at the Eiffel Tower.
To practice your French skills.
Nick's like, I don't see a problem here.
Now, we'll be putting you in pairs and giving you some Eiffel Tower vocabulary to translate.
Mr. Ajayi says they're going to have some Eiffel Tower vocabulary, but that's not what their worksheet is. Their worksheet is like commonly used phrases, nothing regarding the Eiffel Tower, but it's fine. I mean, Mr. Ajayi does not speak French if it's the same as it is in the comics, so what does he know? He doesn't know.
Nick Nelson and Ben Hope.
The fact that Nick and Ben keep getting thrown together, like, there is no way Mr. Farouk is not doing that on purpose. I don't know. I feel like he's trying to punish Ben somehow because he knows what a little shit Ben is. But unfortunately, he's punishing Nick as well.
I don't want to go with Nick Nelson.
I don't give a rat's ass, rude boy.
I don't give a rat's ass, rude boy. Imogen just looks very pleased about that. I mean, Mr. Farouk saw everything that went on at dinner and heard the terrible things that Ben said about Imogen. And if he's overheard any of what him and Nick have talked about, then he knows that Ben is a bit of a dick. But no bit about it. Ben is a dick. So yeah, maybe he's purposely pairing him with Nick to punish him. I don't know. But yeah, as I said, it's unfortunate that Nick also must suffer as a result. But Imogen seems to be enjoying it at least.
How much is it? Oh, of course. Sorry.
Alright, yeah, because we have how much does it cost? Where can I find a map of the city? I'm looking for the bus stop. Where is the stop? Could you take my photo, please? I mean, that could possibly work on the Eiffel Tower. What is the specialty of the day? I saw there at the bottom. Oh, and my Netflix has gone black. That's nice. What would you recommend? So yeah, these are not Eiffel Tower related questions. This is not Eiffel Tower vocabulary. But as I said, Mr. Ajayi is not canonically supposed to be able to speak French, so it's fine. Elle looking over at Tao, lots of butterflies fluttering.
I don't take French, but I know that's wrong.
I don't take French either. C'est la vie.
So we have Sahar and Imogen. It's almost a throwaway line during Truth or Dare in the next episode, but we find out that they were apparently friends previously, and then Imogen got a boyfriend, and they stopped texting each other. Sahar says it's because Imogen stopped texting her. Imogen says Sahar stopped texting me, so it was probably a combination of the two. But yeah, so they have history, and here they are paired together. Neither of them speak French, so yeah. And here we go, the king Isaac.
I know you think it's funny to point things out about people and get a laugh out of your mates, but do you ever stop and think how you're actually making people feel?
So Isaac this whole time is just telling him off, just telling him like exactly what is wrong with his behavior. And Harry, in character, is smiling the whole time, and then it doesn't seem to affect him much. But this is the turning point. This is when he starts to not be such a dick, homophobia-wise.
Just because we're both gay means we must fancy each other.
They have matching shoes in yellow and blue, my goodness.
Do you think Isaac thinks it was me?
He knows it wasn't you.
It wasn't him, was it?
I love James' progression here, where first he's worried that Isaac thinks it was him, and then he's worried that it was Isaac.
I want to talk about what happened at the Paris trip meeting.
Tara is still trying to get Darcy to talk about the I love you that was not returned. Now, like, I really feel for Tara, and I really understand where she's coming from here. But it is it's not the best to be like, to say I love you to someone and they don't say it back, and to keep asking them about it and keep hounding them about it. Like, I think that's not necessarily the best tactic to go with, and is not the most respectful towards the other person's wishes. But I think in this situation, because like Tara and Darcy are very clearly in love with each other, and I think Tara was under the impression that Darcy felt the same way about her. So, and like, I think it's also the fact that Darcy has been dodging the subject so much that has also concerned Tara. So like, I understand why she wants to know. I'm not sure. I don't think it's the best move to keep asking about it, to keep putting pressure on Darcy when she's clearly not ready to say it back. But I understand.
About Tao's proposal. But I still feel like if they just kiss, they'll figure it out. Darcy!
It's easy not to really pay attention to what Darcy is saying because we're so focused on, like, Tara trying to get her to talk about what she's trying to get her to talk about. But, like, she says, I feel like if they just kiss, they'll figure it out. And, in fact, this is exactly what happened. So, all right, guys, look. It's coming for me. It's coming for me! Wait, or can I just... I feel like it's just going to pursue me across the room, but... Here, we'll shift over a little bit. And, yeah, you can't see my clock from this angle, but perhaps you can tell what time of day it is based on the position of the sun.
You know what? Never mind.
Tara is finally like, all right, I can't do this anymore, and she just drops the subject, and we have a little look from Darcy looking very guilty and concerned about the whole thing, but, like, knowing that she's not ready to talk about it. So here's here comes Ben about to blow up. So Nick is just like quietly just filling in the whole French worksheet without even giving much thought to it. And Ben is just like slowly imploding next to him.
You happy?
Yes, very. I mean, his boyfriend is Charlie, and they're in love. So yeah, he's pretty happy actually.
First Charlie, now Imogen. You were the one who told her about me and Charlie, aren't you?
So Ben always assumes that other people are as bad as he is. In this case, he assumes that Nick would tell Imogen, would out him to Imogen, and tell her what was going on. But, of course, in this case, like, no, Imogen just used her eyes and her brains and figured out that something was going on. But it bothers me that Nick never corrects him. I mean, it literally does not matter. It does not matter that Ben has this mistaken assumption about him. But I want Nick's honor not to be impugned here. I want the record to show that he didn't say anything. He would not say anything because that is not the kind of person he is. But alas, Ben will go on believing it. But, I mean, to be fair, Nick was the one who told Imogen that Ben is a dick, but he is.
You used Imogen for popularity points, and you didn't actually like Charlie. You just liked having control over him.
So I think Nick is right on the money here for the most part. Ben only went out with Imogen, I mean, maybe for popularity points, but I think more so it was just, like, any opportunity to be in that, like, oh, check, Ben is heterosexual sort of category. Also to piss off Nick was definitely another reason. Like, I think Ben would go out with any, like, reasonably attractive girl who was interested in him because, you know, he really wants people to view him as being straight and only straight. But, like, yeah, the whole thing about whether or not Ben really did like Charlie, I think it's up for debate. Like, I think he definitely felt something for Charlie, but I think that whatever it was, it got so twisted by all of Ben's behavior and, like, his own self-hatred and his inability to be with anyone without kind of sabotaging it and, like, just, like, taking out his own internalized homophobia on Charlie, using Charlie as, like, because Ben's situation is very sad. Like, he has parents who he thinks will never accept him, and having seen his dad in episode 2, I tend to believe that. But no, you know, you shouldn't judge people based on their appearances. So yeah, Ben's situation is pretty sad, but I do like that in this season we have an example of another queer character who has intolerant parents, but is not taking it out on everybody else around them. Of course, Darcy. But yeah, in any case, regarding Ben and Charlie. Now, we said before Ben is doing some revisionist history where he's kind of rewriting what happened in the past to make himself into the hero or to make his own actions not so bad. And I also think that Ben is rewriting the depth of his feelings for Charlie as well. Like, I think he did like Charlie in a way, but I think the main reason he wanted to be with Charlie was, A, to have an outlet for, his wanting to kiss boys, and B, because, as Nick said, he liked having control over Charlie. He liked having someone that he could safely take out all his negative feelings on. Charlie was the symbol of Ben's queerness to him. And so I think there's a lot of self-hatred going on there, which, is a thing that really happens to queer kids who grow up in intolerant households. Charlie and Darcy both talk about feeling self-hatred, feeling hatred towards themselves because of how other people have made them feel about their queerness. So, like, for Darcy and Charlie, they directed that self-hatred toward themselves. But for Ben, he has taken that self-hatred and directed it all at Charlie. He's punishing Charlie for Ben being attracted to him, if that makes sense, which obviously is very, very messed up. So Ben's rewriting of history extends to the fact that, like, he is now seeing Nick and Charlie in a relationship. So he's seeing the person that he was with is now with someone else, and somehow they are happy and in love and, like, experiencing none of the horrible things that Ben always thought that he would if he ever, was more openly in a relationship with someone. So, like, I think that as a result, he's kind of looking back on his relationship with Charlie with these rose-tinted glasses and, like, only seeing... And we see this in episode 7 where he's explaining to Charlie about how he felt during their relationship. And it's very clear that he's seeing it in a very skewed way. It's like a nostalgia thing. You look back at something that you no longer have and that maybe you miss, and you romanticize the good parts and ignore the bad parts. And so I think Ben thinks that, he deserves to have the relationship that Nick and Charlie now have. And, like, I don't think it's a case of him being in love with Charlie or anything. I think it's more that, like, he's jealous that they're able to have this thing that he thinks that he cannot have. And he's rewriting his history with Charlie so that the story goes that he and Charlie could have been something beautiful, but Charlie was too impatient and didn't give him time to be ready to come out. And so then Nick swooped in and stole Charlie from him. Like, that is the story that Ben has told himself. And he's told it to himself so many times that he thinks it's the truth now. But obviously that's not the truth. So, like, I think he's sincere in everything he says to Nick here. Like, I think he's genuinely convinced himself that Nick is the villain in his own personal story. But, we as the viewers can see that that's obviously not what happened. So, anyway, I've talked too much about this. Let's move on.
What if I said I want Charlie back?
Yeah, and again, saying that he wants Charlie back, like, no, you don't. No, you don't, Ben. You want to be happy and be out and have what they have, but you don't want Charlie specifically. Nick looks very concerned over this. And, like, you can even see, like, a flash of empathy on his face for a second.
I was a dick back then, but I was dealing with my own shit.
I love how he says, I was a dick back then. Yeah, you're so nice now.
Charlie didn't even give me a chance to figure myself out, and then you came along and you stole him from me.
The idea of Charlie not giving someone a chance to figure themselves out. Like, Nick clearly knows this is bullshit because Charlie has been, like, saint-level patient about Nick needing time to come out. So, like, he's got to know that this is not true. But again, this is Ben's story that he has told himself.
Charlie really liked me.
Nick's eyes, he's like, are you fucking serious right now?
Charlie really liked me before you got in his head.
Before you got in his head, yeah. Again, Ben seeing other people as himself. Viewing Nick as a manipulator who just got into Charlie's head somehow and stole him away. Whereas, of course, Ben is the biggest manipulator of them all.
At least I was nice enough not to give him a hickey where everyone could see.
Considering that you sexually assaulted him, I don't think giving a consensual love bite really measures up.
Okay, is everyone finished? Now, it's very hot today.
The length of time that they hold this stare, the length of time that Nick stares at Ben and Ben stares at Nick. Alright, we're climbing. It is impressive that Charlie manages to get up all these stairs when he hasn't eaten much of anything for the past, like, who knows how long. And poor Imogen appears to be afraid of heights, and Tara is talking her through it, which I love. I have never been to France, so I don't know how many flights of stairs it is to get to this part, to get to the observation deck on the Eiffel Tower, but yeah, I already know I don't want to climb those stairs. I would go down the stairs, but yeah, I have no interest in going up those stairs. Does look like a nice view, though. And Darcy just like, Darcy is everyone, just collapsing.
No, we will not have this, thank you.
I love Mr. Ajay being like, no, we will not have this.
I need to get a selfie for my mum.
Okay. Smiles.
We're taking a selfie for Sarah. Very good.
Is that hickey from you then?
We have random dude number 7 shouting up at Nick. Is that hickey from you? Because Nick is daring to stand next to Charlie. Like, it's funny because, you know, every time Charlie's like, oh, we shouldn't sit next to each other, we shouldn't talk to each other, I'm like, come on, Charlie, come on, man. But legitimately, like, people are reacting like, if you go within 2 feet of Charlie Spring, you must be his mysterious paramour. So Charlie immediately looks at Nick, looking very concerned, like, oh my god, how is he going to react? What's going to happen here? But Nick just knocks it out of the park.
What if it was? You jealous?
Oh, I love that. I love that moment.
I'm not gay.
And the guy's like, I'm not gay. Yeah, well, neither is Nick. He's bi, actually.
Leave him alone, lads. Come on.
And here we have Harry turning a new leaf immediately after Isaac gave him a talking to. Hmm?
Maybe we shouldn't be hanging out right now. More people might think it was you who...
You do know it. It was me, right?
It's nice to see the evolution of Nick coming to realize that it's going to be okay when he comes out. Like, I think he took a big step in the way that he handled this situation. Like, if we compare it to the last time Nick was accused of being something other than straight by one of the jerks in Harry's circle. So back in season 1, Harry says, oh, are you gay for them? And Nick just, like, shuts down. Like, he doesn't say anything else. He's just totally silenced by that. But here we have someone, like, you know, suggesting that he could be queer. He was the one who gave Charlie the hickey. And Nick's just like, yeah, so what? It's very much the, I'm bi, actually, and so what? It's really nice to see the steps that Nick takes before he's ready to come out. Where, like, we see him getting more and more comfortable with his identity, getting more and more comfortable talking about it, and realizing that the world doesn't end after he tells people, and more than that, that he has a solid support system, and that maybe the benefits of staying in the closet are far outweighed by the benefits of not being in the closet. And so, like, when Charlie's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't hang out together, because Charlie, of course, 100% focused on making sure that Nick is okay and that Nick feels comfortable. And I think this is another time when Nick kind of realizes, like, this is silly. Like, it was me. I did give him the hickey. I don't, you know, why am I so worried about this?
Yeah, I think I remember you being there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
And just holding eye contact, and, like, if anyone from down below had been watching at this exact moment, like, there is no question that these two are up to something together. So Charlie dares to touch Nick's knuckle with his finger, and there are fireworks, but they hear the kids laughing down below, and Charlie immediately pulls back. Because, again, he's worried about Nick getting bullied. He's worried about people laughing at him and stuff like that. So he pulls back immediately. And Nick watches this happen. So, like, you can see it in Nick's eyes as he takes in, like, Charlie's heard the laughter. It's probably reminded him of his own bullying. And even what just happened today of people laughing and saying he's gross for having a hickey. And again, Nick thinking, what's stopping me from coming out? So another step in his journey, I think. Nick's phone buzzes for approximately 2 seconds. And then Dad is like, Papa is like, oh, well, he's not there. And then Nick calls him back immediately. And Dad does not answer. Like, this freaking guy.
And if she does like me back, still mess it up like I always do with everything.
You don't mess things up.
I don't know if it's the angle or the lighting or like what his curls are doing, but Joe Locke looks like a literal angel in this whole scene. Like, he always looks very cute because he's a cute guy. But like this scene, he's just glowing, literally and figuratively.
I'm basically the reason you got outed last year.
We had wondered last season whether this would come into it, because this is how it went in the comics as well, where Tao was the reason why Charlie got outed. But in the comics, it wasn't Tao telling Charlie that this happened. It was Aled telling Charlie, and Charlie then telling Tao, and Tao feeling really shitty about it because he didn't even realize it. So like, I love the comics, obviously, but I think I do prefer this. I like this version better because Tao knowing that he did this to Charlie, Tao having that in the back of his mind this whole time and not ever telling Charlie for fear that Charlie would hate him, explains so much about Tao's like advanced level of protectiveness over Charlie. And we did wonder if that might be part of it back in season 1. Like, the two things that we theorized about Tao were that maybe his dad was out of the picture and that was part of his abandonment issues, and maybe he feels a lot of guilt and protectiveness over Charlie because Tao was the reason Charlie got outed. So good job, fandom. We were correct on both of those counts.
I never wanted to tell you because I don't want you to hate me.
But you know that wasn't your fault.
If this had been any other show, this would have been a moment of like Charlie freaking out, being so upset, running off, and Charlie and Tao would not speak to each other for a few episodes. But I love how it happens here. And like, huge props to Charlie for being this mature that like because okay, now I think it's Charlie's maturity, but also it's also the fact that it's a good point about Charlie, but also a bad point, that he is so focused on making sure the other people in his life feel good about themselves and just are doing well. So like, you know, we see this in how he puts himself second for Nick to make sure Nick is okay. That, you know, Nick is able to come out in his own time, Nick is not getting bullied, etc., etc. And here, he must be feeling shocked about this. I'm sure he's a little bit hurt, even though he understands. But like, he shows none of this to Tao. There's like maybe a moment or two where he looks kind of sad about it, but then immediately he goes back to his initial thing here, which is reassuring Tao that he's a good person. Tao is a good person. It was not on purpose. It was an accident. Charlie is so understanding and just says all the right things to help Tao feel better about himself here, which says so much for Charlie, but it's also sad because Charlie can't, you know, Charlie is always putting other people before himself.
Like, that was clearly an accident.
Tao is clearly not ready to forgive himself over this. And so I can only imagine how he feels having Charlie forgive him instantly. And, like, not only forgive him, but essentially say there's nothing to forgive.
We've been friends since the first day of year 7.
Oh, it's a time for adorableness.
I'm Tao. Charlie.
This show does such a good job at casting child actors to play the younger versions of the characters. Like, Nick and Tara were spot on, and these two are just impeccably Charlie and Tao in year 7. Like, A++, 10 out of 10, no notes.
Do you like Radiohead?
And I like how baby Tao even has a little bit of the flip going on.
Have you seen the Romeo and Juliet movie from the 90s? It's one of my favourite movies.
See, I bet Tao could do an excellent analysis of Scum Season 3 with regards to how it mirrors the Romeo and Juliet movie from the 90s.
You were the only person I met that day that I really wanted to be friends with.
Tao looks suspicious.
Even if you make mistakes sometimes, you're a good person who deserves love.
Isn't that for you, Nick?
This is so lovely.
Oh.
Tao is like, fine, I guess I have to hug you now.
People might think you gave me this hickey if you keep this up.
I help to deflect the rumors.
Obviously, all the relationships in this show are beautiful, but it's great that we also get to see the friendships as well. Like, the friendship between Charlie and Tao is really lovely.
We need to get to the Louvre.
Elle just drive by. We gotta get to the Louvre. So someone was wondering if this lock is actually there, if they actually kept that, if they left that lock there, and I hope they did. I really hope they did, because I mean it's probably buried by other locks by now, but still, that would be a very cool thing to go see.
That's the Mona Lisa. It's rubbish.
So yeah, again, I have never been to the Louvre or to Paris or even to Europe, but I have heard many people say that they found the Mona Lisa experience to be a bit underwhelming because it's so small, and when you're not filming a Netflix show that is very popular and the Louvre is shut down for you, apparently there's a huge crowd, and like being able to even get close to it is very difficult.
What? Darcy, it's art.
But I love how offended Elle is. She's like, Darcy, it's art! According to Joe, those people, the people we are seeing here are fake people. They were not there when they were filming, so I assume they have been added somehow, which is fascinating. In any case, these are fake people. Joe Locke would like the world to know. Well, I assume they're real people, but that they've been, like, placed in here. Elle looking at all the art, and Tao looking at Elle, and the art, but mostly Elle. And Elle is very taken by this painting, and I didn't notice the first time through, but the way that this painting is structured and arranged, it's very similar to the artwork that we see of hers showcased in the Here and Queer exhibit. So yeah, so I think this is a moment of inspiration for Elle. It's not given a huge amount of focus, but in episode 1, we see that Elle is really struggling to figure out what to create for her submission to Lambert, to the art school, but going to the Louvre, going to all these artsy places, she finds her inspiration, and probably also, you know, finally getting stuff started with Tao also helps, I'm sure. So we have Elle looking at this painting like it's amazing, and Tao looking at Elle like she is amazing.
I don't think I really understand any of the art, but it's nice to look at.
Another instance of characters who don't usually interacting. We have Nick and Elle, which I think is a really nice pairing because they're both kind of the more thoughtful ones of the group who aren't quite as out there as some of the other members.
You don't always need to understand it to enjoy it.
Some very wise things from Elle about art. You don't need to understand it to enjoy it.
I guess that's true of real life as well. You don't have to understand your feelings completely to know that you like something. You can just feel.
And then wisdom from Nick of you don't need to understand your feelings to know that you like something or someone. You can just feel. And of course, the exact right moment to say this to Elle. And I think it's really interesting that like Tao hates Nick for so long, and something Nick said spurs Elle to go for it with Tao. Now they would have done it eventually, I'm sure. Like if they were headed down the course of kissing or expressing their feelings to each other at some point anyway. But like in this case, something Nick said was the trigger. So you're welcome, Tao.
I can't run.
Aw, Nick watches them go with a little smile.
What are you looking at?
Just the painting.
A painting? Really, Nick? Really? You're looking at a painting in the Louvre? Tell me more.
No, we've already walked past the Mona Lisa show.
So we have Nick and Charlie looking at the map, and very interesting here that like Harry and his gang walk by, and Harry, who takes every opportunity to bully people for the laughter of his friends, doesn't say a word. He just walks by. So another sign that he is perhaps turning over a new leaf, or that, again, perhaps Isaac's talking to him had some effect. Ben walks by, and Charlie is immediately triggered, and that extra layer of stress seems to be what kind of pushes him over the edge from, like, you know, haven't eaten, it's really hot, he's not feeling great as a result, into, like, full-on he's about to pass out.
He said that he still liked you. He genuinely thinks that he still has a chance of getting back with you. He doesn't.
The way that Charlie smiles at hearing that Ben actually thinks that Charlie would ever get back with him.
Should we get going?
Okay, so we have the first sign that Charlie is not doing great, but he's able to snap out of it. I think it's interesting, like, symbolism-wise, that Ben kind of sends Charlie into this stress spiral, this anxiety spiral that pushes him that final step into being about to pass out. But so Charlie is dealing with, like, you know, his anxiety, his stress, his eating disorder, and then Nick reaches out a hand to him, and that's what snaps him out of it for the time being. But it's only temporary, because one person alone, Nick alone, cannot solve Charlie's issues. And, you know, obviously that's very similar to what actually happens in the story, is that Nick is there to try to help Charlie through his problems, but as Sarah says, love can't cure mental illness.
Oh, your mum texts you?
All right, so Tara decided to kind of drop the whole I love you thing, and she and Darcy are just having fun together. You know, everything seems normal, and then Darcy gets a text from her mom and suddenly is very closed off and, like, hiding it and acting really different. So obviously Tara has a lot of questions for her. The way that Darcy's smile immediately drops and she immediately, like, snatches the phone away is really telling. Like, it's really interesting to watch Kizzy's performance here, because they are doing a really stellar job of kind of the little tiny subtle signs of what's actually going on, and reacting in just the right way of someone who puts up a front of being happy all the time, but nonetheless is dealing with some serious stuff.
Why do you always avoid the issue?
And when Darcy's back is turned to Tara, she's not even trying to hide from her expression the fact that this conversation is troubling her.
Those statues, like, to make them so accurate. Like, back in the day, all they had was just a big bit of rock.
So now here we have Nick marveling at the fact that people way back when were able to make such beautiful statues. He says, what they do to make those statues so accurate, back in the day, all they had was just a big bit of rock. Like, yes, Nick. I mean, it is amazing. I could never do it, but, like, and a carving tool. What would it be? And Isaac says, like a chisel. So Isaac is walking Nick through the statue creation process. Well, meanwhile, Charlie is behind them, about to pass out. The way that Charlie passing out is depicted is very realistic. I passed out in music class when I was younger, when I was in high school. And, like, for me, it wasn't white, it was darkness. What happened to me was first, and so the reason that this happened was that, like, I have a long history of, like, breathing issues and, like, chronic hyperventilation syndrome. Basically, my breathing is out of whack a lot of the time, and the first time that showed up was when I was in high school and we were learning guitar in music class. And, like, when I concentrate, I sometimes forget to breathe, which is awesome. So that's what I was doing then, and it caused me to pass out briefly, very, very briefly. So, like, yeah, what happened for me was, first, everything went kind of dim. Like, everything was, like, overexposed but also dim, and everything was all fuzzy, like, sound-wise. And then the darkness started encroaching around the sides, and then in the middle of my friend, so, like, I turned to my friend who was sitting next to me and said, like, I think I'm gonna pass out. And, like, all I heard was her say, you're really scaring me, and then, like, everything went black. I think I talked about this when we did this part of the comics, but for those of you who do not watch the comics reactions, that's my story. But so in my case, like, I still don't know exactly what happened there, but I was sitting down, so I was not far away from the carpeted floor of the band room. And then, like, when I came to, my friend had her arm around me and was, like, helping me to the door. So I might not even have, like, completely collapsed. I definitely blacked out because I had, like, I had a gap between my friend sitting in a chair and my friend talking to me and, like, being almost to the door. But yeah, a friend of mine has said that this is exactly what happened to them in a similar situation. So I do think it's really realistically portrayed.
Charlie, what's wrong?
And the fact that, like, Nick is a decent distance away from Charlie. And, like, this is really frightening, like, knowing that something is wrong with you and no one has noticed. And, like, not being sure that you're going to be able to call for help. And, like, Charlie says Nick so quietly, but Nick, like, he's got it. He's tuned to Charlie's voice. Nick hears him and turns and is able to, you know, catch him before he hits his head on a statue or something.
Somebody get Mr. Farouk!
And, like, the speed with which Isaac takes off, Nick says, someone get Mr. Farouk. Isaac spins and dashes. Like, no hesitation. He's gone. He's off. This is a beautiful scene between Tao and Elle, but, like, placement-wise, it's just unfortunate that, like, we have this beautiful moment happening between Tao and Elle, who are finally, like, able to admit their feelings to each other via 3 kisses, while a beautiful Cave Town and Orla Gartland song plays. And meanwhile, like, Charlie's, like, collapsed a few rooms away. I feel like we can't enjoy this scene as much as we could if we were not so worried about Charlie in this moment, but, you know, it's fine.
It makes me want to draw.
You should. I love watching you draw.
And one of the things that I said last episode was that I think it's really good that Tao and Elle are having all these, like, non-date dates, or rather these date-like situations that they're entering into, both of them knowing that they have romantic feelings for each other, but kind of giving themselves the space to say that they're just friends in order for them to figure out how to be with one another in a not just friends kind of way. And, like, they're acting so natural with one another and so just, like, being the people that they each fell in love with, which is beautiful to see. And, like, again, Elle's passion for art is really coming out. Tao's passion for film comes out, and they both just, like, I mean, the way that Tao is staring at Elle and the way that Elle looks at him later, it's just clear how much they care about each other and how right it is for them to take this turn in their relationship.
They should make more movies in the Louvre. I can only think of the Da Vinci Code, and you would literally have to tie me to a chair if you wanted me to watch that actual monstrosity again.
When Elle and Tao went on their kind of awful date, one of the things that really soured Elle to the experience, aside from Tao not being like himself, was the fact that he was just, like, ripping into the movie that she loved so much. But here we have the same situation of Tao just ripping a movie to shreds. Not Elle's favorite movie, thankfully, and the Da Vinci Code, which have at it, Tao. But we have Tao just ripping a movie to shreds, and the way that Elle looks at him, she just finds it so endearing that this is Tao. Like, this is exactly the Tao that she fell for. The weird, passionate, wonderful, like, very, very judgmental Tao, and that finally gives her the final push into just going for it and kissing him, which is lovely.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Immediately after she does it, she's like, oh crap, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. We said we were just gonna be friends. Maybe because he doesn't kiss her back, so I think that she thinks that he actually, that she read things wrong and he actually is not interested anymore.
You can force him to love you.
When I say that I yelled when Cave Town started singing here, like, Cave Town, for those who are not familiar, is one of my favorite artists, a trans musician and singer who I've been to their concert. Amazing, just a really cool person, and some great songs. And this is a good song. It's called Fall in Love with a Girl. But, like, interestingly enough, this song is directed at a girl who is with a shitty boyfriend and advising her to dump her shitty boyfriend and fall in love with a girl instead. So, like, I feel like this song could be directed at Imogen, perhaps. But nonetheless, it does work very well. Like, the chorus works very well here, fall in love with a girl. And I'm just very happy that Cave Town got on the soundtrack, because that's something I was hoping for. Fall in love with a girl. And the butterflies. And of course, you know, you gotta have the leg pop. Like, you gotta do a little Princess Diaries in here. They're so adorable. Okay, and speaking of adorable,
I don't see it.
Stand in front of it, I'll show you.
I do like that we get to have a little bit of these two being adorable together.
And do the pose as well.
I don't do poses.
Yes, you do. Go on. Another facial expression.
I think this is a good indication of how their relationship will be, that they balance each other out very well, that, like, Mr. Ajayi kind of brings out the playful side of Mr. Farouk here, which is really nice to see. But unfortunately, they are interrupted.
Mr. Farouk, Mr. Ajayi.
Charlie fainted.
Holding on to Charlie. The fake people in the Louvre do not seem to care that there is a boy collapsed.
What just happened?
He's just, he passed out.
I like that they made it so you can actually see the sweat on Charlie's face here, which, I mean, the cold sweat after you've passed out is no joke, man.
We found them!
The way that Isaac comes charging over, like, we don't see like explosions of emotion from Isaac all that often. I just like that because, you know, Isaac tends to fade into the background sometimes by his own design. And, like, as someone who has often hidden from social situations with a book, I get it, man. But, like, it's wonderful to see how much he genuinely does care about his friends, that he's just, like, charging through the Louvre and then, like, you know, like, dun 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 dun, like, he's on it. He's gonna go run and get a teacher and get back to bring you help, Charlie Spring.
I just haven't eaten enough today.
If you need to sit down or you just want to rest on the couch.
When Charlie says he hasn't eaten enough, like, the look on Nick's face, it's clear, like, he's thinking even now about the fact that he's gonna have to bring this up, and he doesn't want to, but he definitely has to.
There.
As I've said before, Mr. Farouk is, like, unerringly kind to Charlie. Like, he lets him return Nick's pen in study hall, and here he's just so gentle and so nice, giving him the sandwich and the water and just, like, the fist bump and everything.
Charlie,
Now it's time to have a difficult conversation.
I've noticed you don't really eat a lot, generally.
Now, it takes a lot of bravery to bring up something like this. And the fact that Nick does it so gently, like, he does it directly but gently, which is, you know, classic Nick. But it's very, very hard to approach someone about something like this without setting off all their defenses. So, yeah, kudos to Nick for going about this in the right way, I think.
It kind of feels like it's gotten worse lately.
So we see him kind of, like, scratching at his arm, and this could be interpreted as just nervousness and stress that he's doing that, but it also, unfortunately, could also harken back to his history of self-harm, that, you know, his first instinct is to kind of, you know, dig his nails into his arm. But I think more likely it's probably the stress. But, like, regardless, it's really interesting how many hints we have throughout of what's going on with Charlie. Like, not just the food aspect of things. Like, consistently throughout the whole show, we see Charlie refusing food or having food but not eating it, or lying about having eaten. But we also see the fact that he's cold easily. He's always wearing, like, you know, long sleeves when everyone else is wearing t-shirts. And the fact that he falls asleep easily. We see him fall asleep with, first of all, in episode 2 of season 1 when he's watching a movie with Nick, but also, you know, with Nick in episode... Is that also episode 2? Yeah, in episode 2 of season 2 as well. So I guess episode 2 is the Charlie falls asleep while watching a movie episode. But yeah, so these little hints throughout that Nick notices these things, but it doesn't come together. And we as the audience notice these things, but don't connect them. So, like, it's very smart storytelling, but also really freaking heartbreaking to see all of these signs of, like, the things that Charlie is struggling with that are woven so artfully into the whole show from the start all the way through.
Like, I feel like you eat less than you used to.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if this is the first time someone has, like, openly brought this up to Charlie. The only person who might have done it is Tori. Like, I could see a possibility of Tori bringing this up to Charlie. But I think, like, something that we see come out more in the comics and the novels is that the Spring family don't really talk very well about their feelings. So it would not surprise me if Tori had noticed that something was off regarding Charlie's eating, but not necessarily directly confronted him about it, and instead took the route of, like, what Nick did earlier of, like, offering him food and, you know, trying to encourage him to eat. But I don't know. Regardless, this is definitely the first time anyone has confronted Charlie about his eating issues so directly.
I'm sorry.
And of course, he falls back to his usual, like, apologizing. And it's clear that he feels shame about this, which is so unfortunate because, like, it's not his fault. It's so difficult because when you're dealing with a physical injury, like, if you have a broken leg, no one's going to be like, well, at least I hope no one's going to be like, but generally, no one is going to be like, what's wrong with you? Just get up. Just walk, you know? So if you have a physical issue, people accept it. They accept the limitations that come with it. But if you have a mental issue, people don't believe it. They think it's just you being lazy. They blame you. And you can blame yourself, too, very easily. It's very easy to be like, you know, this is a problem with me. This is me not being a strong enough person. Or this is me, you know, being fundamentally flawed in some way, or being lazy, or, you know, etc., etc., etc. So I think Charlie's need to apologize here stems from that he's still feeling that shame about his own, you know, mental health issues that are not his fault. And to you out there, if you have, I mean, I've said it before, I have anxiety. I struggled with depression for many years. I have OCD. If you are struggling with mental health issues, please just know it is not your fault. It is nothing that you have done to bring this upon yourself. There may sometimes be external factors influencing what's going on, but it comes down to your brain chemistry. It is a physical issue that is manifesting in ways that people can't see, and so they don't understand. But you have done nothing wrong. And, like, the fact that people sometimes view those who have mental health issues as being weak is just the biggest load of bullshit I've ever seen, because you do not know strength until you know someone who is struggling with anxiety, depression, eating disorder, any number of issues, and is still going through their daily life and getting up every day and doing the things they need to do and trying to be like a functioning person. So, yes. Anyway, rant over for now. Let's continue.
I'm really sorry.
Hey, no. You have nothing to be sorry about.
But yeah, so Charlie apologizes. And I love this detail that we get the same shot of Charlie's hand, but this time it's Nick taking it. It's Nick taking Charlie's hand, the same hand that has harmed Charlie, taking it into his own and pulling it like, you know, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you as much as I can through this. You are not alone in this anymore.
I want to understand.
Nick doing exactly the right thing, saying, you have nothing to apologize for. I just want to understand. Like, there's no judgment here. He's not blaming Charlie. He's not shaming Charlie. He's not saying, why do you do this? Or you have to stop, or you have to eat more. He states what he's noticed. I've noticed you don't really eat a lot. Assures Charlie that he has nothing to feel sorry for, and then just gives him space to explain, saying, I want to understand.
I know I don't eat like normal people. Some days I'm fine, but other days I feel like I need to control it. Sometimes it feels like the only thing I can control in my life.
Charlie opens up so much and says, like, something that I imagine he has never said before, that he's never said out loud to another person before, which is what's really going on with him regarding his eating disorder, that it is all about control and, you know, finding something in his crazy, like, stressful life of bullying and Ben and all the things, all the terrible things that have happened to him, all his traumas, all his self-hatred, finding one thing that he has control over.
That makes zero sense. You can just forget I said
It does make sense. Okay, maybe I don't totally get it, but I still want to know if you're feeling like that.
I love here, too, that Nick reassures him that, you know, what you've said, it makes sense. Maybe I don't understand 100% because I'm not you. I'm not going through the same thing. I don't have the same experiences. But I get where you're coming from, and I'm here for you. And more than that, I want to know these things. Like the fact that Nick not only listens, but lets Charlie know that he is a safe person to tell these things to. That Nick is not going to judge him. He doesn't have to feel like he's bothering Nick if he tells him when he's feeling like this.
If there's anything that I can do to make things less stressful, cheering you up, but...
Like, you can see in Nick's face and his eyes that it kills him every time he hears something more about how Charlie hurts himself. And, you know, whether it's emotionally or physically, it hurts Nick when he finds out how unkind Charlie sometimes is to himself. But, like, even so, kind of similar to how Charlie was able to reach past his own, like, shock and probably hurt over finding out that Tao was the reason why he got outed in order to comfort Tao, Nick in this position is able to push past his own shock and hurt over what's going on with Charlie to comfort Charlie. So he's totally focused on making sure that Charlie knows that this is okay, I'm here for you, etc.
I'm your boyfriend, Charlie. And I really care about you.
I think this is the first time that Nick almost says, I love you, but in this case switches it to, I care about you. And you can tell by Charlie's face that he knows what he was about to say. So here we have the boyfriend croissant.
It's a bit dry.
Charlie just, like, puts it far away from him.
You are not rejecting the croissant that I have lovingly carried for you all day.
But luckily we have a backup in the form of Mr. Farouk's sandwich. And while it was not lovingly carried all day, it was lovingly carried by Mr. Farouk, So Charlie eats. He feels a bit stronger.
This is so...
And again, exactly the same room that was depicted in the comics. I love how they pay so much attention to detail with the adaptation here of making sure it is exactly the same room as it was in the comics. And even Nick and Charlie's outfits are almost exactly the same.
Oh, it's my dad.
So Nick's dad is finally actually attempting to contact him. But I imagine that Nick's dad was hoping or thinking that that it would be such short notice that Nick would not be able to come, underestimating the fact that Nick is determined to see him, even though his dad is doing everything he can to blow Nick off.
Sorry, I better... Your dad?
And Charlie, like, so, and we find this out as well in a little bit, where Charlie's like, you know, we should tell each other when we have stuff going on, but Charlie had no idea that Nick was playing phone tag with his dad, or that Nick's dad lives in Paris, or that he was hoping to meet up with him. Tao actually knew more than Charlie did about this.
On se voit cette semaine?
And just the look of startled joy on Charlie Spring's face as he hears his boyfriend speaking in French.
No, ça va? J'ai pu le faire?
It's clear that the dad was the one who suggested meeting, like, oh, well, yeah, I can totally meet you if you can meet me in 20 minutes at a cafe that's not anywhere near where you are, that you'll have to leave your class and take a train to get to where I am, but, you know, I'm available, haha. And Nick's like, yeah, totally, I'll do that, so.
Wait, do you like the fact that I speak French?
It's fine. It's cool.
Charlie!
I love Charlie's reaction. It's fine, it's cool.
Mon amour.
Mon amour.
Oh my god, you're so cringe.
You actually don't look like you're cringing, you look like you're blushing.
Yeah, and after the heaviness and the seriousness of the previous scene, it's so nice to see Nick and Charlie being playful together and just having this very, very funny moment.
Leave me alone, you dick!
You dick!
Oh, no! No!
And then, of course, we have a cameo by director Eros Lin telling them, no!
Pas de ça ici.
Pas de ça ici! I think is what he said. No, none of that here!
Run!
And I love that the grand plan here is to run towards the security guard who is telling you off, but, you know, we gotta get up those stairs somehow, so. But, yeah, I was very concerned about Charlie in this scene because he had just recently passed out, so, like, Charlie, please take it easy. But, you know, he wouldn't be running if he didn't feel up to running, so.
This way.
The security guard is just walking off like, my work here is done. Even though I feel like running full speed through the Louvre has got to be frowned upon as well, but it's fine. But I do love just the chaotic joy of Nick and Charlie running together. You know, of course, calling back to them in episode 3 of season 1, where they're running at Harry's party. But, you know, quite a different situation here. But still, that same kind of feeling of just, like, joyful abandon.
My dad wants to meet up, like, today.
This freaking guy ignores his son's messages, leaves him on red, like, pops up once to say, like, oh yeah, probably, maybe, yeah, I'll see what I can do, I'll check my schedule, and then, like, makes the least possible effort towards contacting Nick, calls him for, like, lets the phone ring for 2 seconds, and then hangs up, and then doesn't answer when Nick calls him back, and then finally calls Nick back again, only to say, like, oh yeah, I can totally meet you in 20 minutes. So yeah, like, it's very clear that Stefan is putting forth, like, the absolute bare minimum of effort, and was probably secretly hoping that Nick would just give up and not even, like, try to meet up with him. Which we see kind of in the next episode as well, where, like, Nick's dad is like, oh, well, you never come to visit. And then like 2 seconds later, he's like, well, I would have invited you, but we're redoing the kitchen, or something like that. So, like, he like, it's like he's trying to place the blame on Nick, his teenage son, for not traveling to another country to visit him when he himself is not inviting him to come.
He's not really a big part of my life anymore. He's not the most reliable.
It's just a shame, because, like, Nick deserves a dad who is 100% there for him. I mean, he really lucked out getting Sarah for a mother, but it's too bad that he doesn't get to have a supportive dad as well. But at least it does seem like maybe his dad at least says he's going to try after the dinner scene in episode 7, but who knows what's actually going to happen.
I had this idea that I might introduce you to him.
And I love that even after what David said about, like, oh, does Dad know? Wait until Dad finds out. Nick's first thought is still, like, I want to meet up with my dad, not only so I can see him, but so I can introduce him to Charlie and come out to him. Like, that is always at the forefront of Nick's mind.
How about we promise to tell each other when we've got stuff going on?
Aw, and a wonderful hug. And we're running to the subway. 20 minutes is, like, no time. Like, that is not enough time to walk to the train station sometimes. Like, that's insane. Yeah, and very telling, like, just as Charlie is looking over at Nick, the song lyric is, I don't know who I am without you. I love that they're holding hands on the train, and, like, they don't even look at the people around them. Like, it doesn't even occur to either of them. They're both so focused on, like, the joy of having just made the train and, like, looking forward to what's to come. And there's a lot of hope in them in this moment. And then we see the train pull away. Another great song. Anyway. Okay, so you guys, this video is 1 hour and 51 minutes right now. So, like, I knew that the episodes dealing with mental health stuff would definitely require me to say a lot more. But I did not expect Like, I started this video a little after 5 o'clock, and it's now like after 7. So, anyway, yeah, so a very, very good episode. I love all the Paris episodes. I love all the episodes. But this one, we have a lot of important stuff happens. Of course, Tao and Elle get together finally. We have Nick talking to Charlie about his eating disorder. We have Charlie finding out about Nick's dad and that Nick can speak French. And both of them kind of vowing to be there for each other and to let each other know when things are going on, which is really important. And then off we go to meet Nick's dad, which will be an interesting and brief experience, but we'll get to that next time. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up because I don't think I want to deal with having a video that is over 2 hours long yet when we're on episode 5. Episode 8, like, you guys, just it's I have a feeling that episode 8 is going to be the longest one yet, because I have so much to say about that last scene. I have so much to say, you guys. Anyway, though, so yes, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you like from this episode? What are your thoughts about anything? I don't know. Okay, well, a huge thank you, as always, to our patrons, who are absolutely amazing and wonderful and awesome. And a special shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Kelly Walker, Paul Z, and Kent Smither. And yeah, thank you to everyone who watches, likes, subscribes, does all that fun stuff. If you want to join the Patreon, there's a link in the description. Yes, so I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whatever time of day it may happen to be. And I will see you next time. All right. Bye.